Welcome back to another Genre Art with JB. So the video that I put out last week was an excerpt from my online graphic novel class. If you're curious, I teach with the atelier at Flowerfield, based out of New York, but I'll be teaching with them remotely. And last week what I did is I went through and I laid in the construction lines for Link and Ganon. And I went through basically the beginning of that picture making process, how I would go about beginning to draw two figures completely out of my head, albeit with some pose reference and costume reference and whatnot, but just the nuts and bolts of the anatomy I'm making up out of my head, right? So this week what I want to do is sort of start to detail in Ganon here, and take Ganon to a reasonable level of finish. I don't know if I'll get to laying in all the values and whatnot, but I want to get as far as I can with that. So without further ado, let's begin, right? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. And I want to be able to see what I'm working on. I can kind of see what I'm working on through the corner of my eye, through the phone, and it looks like I've got a pretty good vantage point. So I have some really sweet costume reference of Ganon pulled up on my computer. Now, basically what I did is I've laid in all the values for Link. I've kind of finished his costume off. There's not much more that I'm going to do with Link, right? But Ganon is a completely different story. So what I'm going to do from here is just sort of go through and start to lay in Ganon's costume. First thing I want to do is just want to kind of come out, maybe make him a little bit more massive. Right? Just gonna come in and thicken him up a little bit. And give him his like goat feet or whatever. And I'm actually going to go in and just move this leg out a little bit. Even when I'm trying to place all of my elements together in the figure, that, you know, even when I'm at this stage of the game, this level of detail, I'm still kind of going in and maybe trying to figure out, okay, would this leg go this way? Would this leg go this way? Just erase this. Got some relaxing Nintendo music in the background. I'm a big Zelda fan, so I really hope that at some point Nintendo takes note of me pestering them on Twitter and relents to finally make a live-action Zelda. So I actually want to try to wireframe in the bones here. So the joint is going to come down, right? We're going to hit the knee here, knee's going to terminate, and then you're going to have that bone swing back. And then we're basically going to get that sort of horse's hoof. I don't mind that so much. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in. Going to get Ganon's, he's got like this cool belt going on. And he's got like a skull. And you can see even when I'm doing it, the details here, I am not completely erasing. I'm drawing in all of the shapes and leaving the sketch lines in there. I think one requirement of any sort of entertainment artist is that they should be able to do good skulls. Kind of trying to, I'm doing classic Ganon, but I'm giving him like hints of his Gerudo armor from, you know, the version of him that was introduced in Ocarina of Time. And I'm probably just going to mass in some of the details of the costume. I don't know how. I'm definitely probably not going to get to the value tonight, like laying in all the spot blacks and whatnot, but I will get to like defining the costume, detailing in some elements of the anatomy, the leg, what have you. Maybe he's got like some feet, right? Maybe, I don't know if he's gonna have like, maybe he just has some like hairy hooves or whatever. Who knows? Make this up as we go along, right? I do like in the reference, the costume reference that I'm looking at here, he's got these crazy pauldrons on his arms. What I don't want are tangents. So just gonna come in. Punch up my costume reference again. When I also draw, typically one thing I do is I'll keep a piece of scratch off paper underneath my hand as I'm drawing, and I will go through and sharpen my pencil. Tracing paper also works for this type of technique. I'm one of those guys who actually is hesitant to use the word technique. Let's see. 'Cause I think it's sort of an abused term. Method I prefer. There we go. Draw the fabric cinching in around Ganon's waist. And looks like he's got some kind of tunic. And he's got like a cloak or a cape in some iterations as well. He's got a Triforce medallion. course, this artist gave him tons of piercings. I'm not going to do that. Certainly can. I mean, any kind of pig character, you'll tend to give him lots of piercings, but what I'm doing is just laying in the piping here on his suit. Come over here, do the same thing. And if we actually come over here, we can lay in the, he's got these cool wrist guards. Andy Kubert, someone is a comic artist, who's really good at drawing forearms. I want to make sure I'm getting that anatomy nice and solid, right? This elbow exists, but it's actually, you know, behind this muscle which comes around and hugs the tricep. It's sandwiched between the tricep and the bicep, so I want to make sure I'm getting that in there. Get some shadowing under these forearms. Just want to start to hint at where some of these values are going to go. Some Zelda ambiance playing in the background. And then, of course, I want to try and get this hand in here. Now, the hand, with something with hands, is when I'm doing hands, you want to think of the hand as like one mass that rotates around the cylinder of the arm. So in this way, the fingers are rotating around. And it sort of crescendos with the middle finger, and then we are sort of back down to the pointer finger. Let's bring that in a little bit. Then you want to think of the different planes of the hand. So we have one plane that's a frontal plane, and then we have this lower plane, right? And of course we have the fingers themselves. And he's got these sweet fingerless gloves on. And we have the thumb, which connects into the bridge of the palm. Just gonna put my glasses down for a second. And we'll see. I'll try not to make this stream too long. We're already at 13 minutes. I hazard that this stream will go quite a bit longer than my last stream since I'm laying in details. All right. Probably the most challenging part that I did off camera was sorting Ganon's face, like sort of making that pig snout work with his frame. That's why I'm beefing his frame out, because if he had a snout and a neck that thick, he'd have a bigger frame. And I want to do the same thing over here with this. We're getting the underside of his arm here. So if there's a plane, it's sort of, we're getting this plane and then we're getting the side plane. Of course, you have that wireframe going directly down. A lot of extreme foreshortening going on there. To start massing in some of these forms a little bit so that I kind of know whether I'm coming or going. So do the same thing over here. All right. It's looking pretty good so far, I think. I haven't mirror tested this yet to see if there's any asymmetry or wonkiness, but I'm pretty confident that there's minimal amounts of that, if any. So I'm just going to trudge on ahead here. And if I spot any between now and next video, you'll know because I'll have fixed it off camera. But I'll try and do as much on camera as I can for your benefit. This hand's sticking more straight out at us, so it's going to be a little bigger than this hand here. And I think because he's a villain, I'm not going to give him any pupils. I think we're going to call it a day on his pupils. But basically, I've already laid in a lot of the costume elements. At this point, it's a lot of rendering right? And it's a lot of hatching and line work. I'll probably do a separate video on hatching, but there are guys on YouTube that cover that way more in depth and way better than I could. I recommend David Finch's channel, and we're at 20 minutes, and I'll put his information in the cards. David Finch is a phenomenal artist. Also, I should add, credit him with the pose reference for this particular fan art that I'm doing. I originally based it off Spider-Man versus Venom commission that he did. And I urge you guys, if you're an aspiring artist, to check out his channel. A phenomenal draftsman, really good at not only understanding the figure and how planes and shapes relate to each other, but how you can translate that into describing value. And there's a guy, if you like David Finch, the artist, speaking of which, there's a person that I'm pretty sure he's studied or is aware of, and that all of you guys should check out if you're going to school for art, and that is George Bridgman. And he has a book called Constructive Anatomy. And along with Loomis, he's one of those guys that I really think it's super important for the aspiring artist illustrator to understand. And you can see just how the planes kind of fit together, right? They're just fitting together, and then like really just, instead of shying away from the foreshortening, running towards it, kicking, you know, into the, like, just for running full board, sprinting towards that foreshortening. I do a lot of digital paints as well, but because I was having syncing issues with my stylus, I thought it was a good time for me in terms of this channel to pivot back towards doing some more tutorials and live draw-throughs. I know that a few of you have been clamoring for that. I did a hand tutorial before my Link Part 1, you know, demo, or live drawing demo slash figure construction tutorial. That was the last tutorial I did, was that hand demo. And you have to go back quite a bit of ways in my YouTube feed to find that particular video. But I reorganized a bunch of my videos by playlist recently, so I am developing a tutorial playlist, and I'll probably redo a few of these tutorials with as I sort of continue to evolve the channel and upgrade my setup. I'll probably go back, and I'm thinking of doing a title card or a logo. Since I am an artist, I probably should be able to design my own logo, but have not done so yet. So we're seeing a little bit of the underside of this plane here. So what we're gonna get we're actually gonna get, if he's holding like a weapon or a knife, see there we've got, just holding my hand up to try and nail this down. One of my cats is slinking into frame, and if she shows herself, she may run across my camera actually. If she shows herself, I'll pivot to her. She's trying to get up into the window right now. I'm going to move my computer slightly so that she can have a little more room. Come on, Snowy. Her name is Snowflake. She is a Siamese Himalayan mix, and she's adorable. And so I know in some of the fan arts, Ganon's shown with these like knives, and then in others he's shown with like a spear. Like he's got one of those like tridents or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe just giving him... I have this idea that maybe he can detach the parts of his trident. So maybe he's got like a... like a blade of some sort. And maybe he's broken the chain on it. And this would well, if it's coming out towards us, we definitely would see. Something like that. And then, of course, we'll just go in, bridge of the palm. And then we'll come out here, and then I'm just gonna come in and give him those gauntlets, right? He's got those cool wrist gauntlets. Cover his wrists. Not bad. And again, right over here, we have another claw. I rather like that so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mass in this particular weapon here on this hand. Give him like the top end of that trident. I'm going to define this pauldron a little bit more. And then I'm also going to define his cape. So with this particular end of the trident, right, he's got give it plenty of room here. And I like the idea of like a skull trident. Pretty sweet looking. And of course, Ganon's fairly massive, right? I imagine this leg is all in shadow here. And so that's my version of Ganon. What I'll do is I'll just detail in the face to start, and then cut the video and probably come back and do a demo on the inking, right? So for starters, I've got all this information here. I've got Link completely done. So what do I want to do? I want to come in. And it's really just a simple matter of going in and inking areas that I've already, or not inking, rendering areas that I've already sort of laid in with my mechanical pencil. And of course, I'm just going in. Trying to follow the sort of direction of Ganon's fur. He's got all this crazy fur. Maybe I want to give him some saliva or something, I don't know. Make him look like the Tasmanian devil. And when I ink this, I'll be cleaning this up a lot in the inking process as well. This ear would actually be behind this tusk. And I'm just going through with my kneadable eraser and just cleaning up some of the guidelines here. Filling in some of the thicker line weights for the snout. I'm just coming in and doing his little crown, his Gerudo headband that he's got here. This thing took me forever to kind of nail down. Oh, and by the way, if you guys don't like my video, please give it a thumbs down, because that helps me in the algorithm. Or you can feel free to leave a negative comment as well. That also helps me in the algorithm. I noticed I've been getting a few dislikes on my videos, and I want to thank whoever's been disliking my videos, because you're only boosting me in the algorithm, buddy. So keep it up, dog. Help me out. Help a brother out, right? But in any event, whether you like my video or dislike it, feel free to interact with me in either the comments or smash that like button or dislike button, right? Or if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to tell me in the chat as well. In the comments. It's unfiltered and uncensored on this channel. But seriously, I do appreciate you guys. Every last one of you. Subscribers, because it really floors me that there are 26 people out there who have an interest in what I do. You know, and I'm happy to continue producing content for you guys. Gonna get Ganon's hairline in here. He's got the craziest hairdo, Ganon, after they revamped his look in Ocarina. Gave him this really wild hairdo. It's got like a Klingon hairdo. You wouldn't think the Triforce Emblem is that difficult to draw, but it's actually not as easy as you'd think. Getting all these triangles symmetrical. Shut up. And if I ever fix the lag issue in my panel, I'll go back to doing some more digital paints. But and I was on the horn with XP, and they said I had to reinstall my driver, and I have a Wacom driver on here as well, so I've got to get that off. So we'll see what happens. You also want to try and vary those line weights, right? So if I want to get his tusks really defined in here, I want to sort of pop the line weights on his tusks because they're closer in space to us. Horn in here. And this is what it is. It's just going back over line work with your kneaded eraser and popping things out, right? Maybe give this a little bit of a jagged. And I'm just coming in, defining this Triforce Emblem. All right, there we go. It's looking pretty good so far, I think. I'm going to continue working my way, just like I did with the face, down the entire figure. I guess one last thing I can do here before I cut it for today is I'll just go in and detail this area by the ribs real quick, right? So if I were to sort of, you know, to give you an example of how I would shade this area, what I'd want to do is come in sort of like that, right? Just kind of come in, and what you're doing is just kind of segmenting these off into diamond shapes. And just sort of going from there, right? So that's basically stage 2. That's, you know, after you've gotten your construction lines on your figure, right after you've defined your forms, you can then go in and start laying in detail, and then you want to use your kneaded eraser to create a ghost line to go, you know, to go back over your forms and just continually carving out and further defining them, right? And then you can start to lay in some value, like I did up here with the horn here, starting to feather a bit. Right, your feathering and your hatching should always come from a spot black or a black shape. So if I were to go in and hatch this or feather this, I would be feathering out from here, the edge, or hatching out from the edge rather. I would never just want to start hatching like this in a random white area unless I wanted to create some kind of texture or like a scratch or like a scar or something. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind there. Alright, so I'm going to cut it here, guys, as it's getting late, but I hope you enjoyed sort of watching me mass in this epic version of Ganon here, Pig Ganon. So this will be Breath of the Wild Link versus Pig Ganon when it's done. I still have to do the cape, so I'll probably, you'll probably end up seeing that in the inking segment of this demonstration. But thanks again, everybody, for joining me. Alright, take care and have a great night.